Call Allah Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Wahakadash Rakah. Double honors to the hopeful elect elders over at the Great Millstone Church who rule well. Peace and many blessings be to the hopeful elect men of the Israelite nation, out teaching his truth in the four corners of the earth where we have been scattered. And also peace and many blessings be to the rest of the 1/3, the men, women, and children, all you true believers out there of the Israelite nation who has forsaken this world and have come back to reality. Reality simply being sound doctrine, a true understanding of the scriptures. So Ephesians, the 5th chapter, the 15th verse, see then that ye walk circumspectly. And this going to serve as the title of the lesson, which is going to be walk circumspectly. And again, see then that ye, being you Israelites, you true believers of the Israelite nation, all right, the hopeful elect, the 1/3, Israelites being you so-called black people. That is what you are known as today. But in fact, you are God's chosen people. You are who this message is specifically to, and Lord willing, it's edifying. So see then that ye walk circumspectly, and you walking is your life. You know, how you go about your daily and being circumspect. Circumspectly, we'll go into this word. There's 3 adjectives here that would describe how someone who was walking circumspectly would go about their life exactly, accurately, and diligently. And all these things are all according to the doctrine, truly understanding what these scriptures are saying. All right. And also circumspectly going into the word circumference, which is to denote a circle. All right. 360 degrees around you. So complete awareness, if you will. And it says not as fools, because you can't walk as a fool, because you walking as a fool is going to lead to your own destruction. As the scripture says, fools hate knowledge. You're not walking as fools, but as wise. And the wise are those who obtain knowledge and are able to apply it to their daily life. All right. Thus their walk, thus walking circumspectly, redeeming the time because the days are evil. And yes, we are redeeming our time, ultimately hearing this word and receiving it, accepting it, eventually, and then going on to perform or walk accordingly to it. And we're redeeming the time because the days are evil, bad times. The world has been given into the hands of the wicked being the so-called white man, who is Esau or Edom, according to the scriptures. He's also known as a devil. You need to redeem your time because you thought you were supposed to grow up and be an entertainer, a ball player, or whatever imagination was given to you by the so-called white man, who is your enemy, your adversary. So we're redeeming the time by obtaining this knowledge and accepting it. And we're going to keep reading verse 17. Wherefore be ye not unwise. All right, once again, because the times are evil and you need to be buying into this truth. But understanding what the will of the Lord is, all right? So it is always coming back down to truly getting what the scriptures are saying. And thus you walking circumspectly, being exact with the doctrine, being accurate with it, and also realizing, you're not going to know everything off top. So you have to be diligently searching, the scriptures and obtaining and growing and building, because that's what coming into this truth is all about. It's actually growing and putting yourself in position to endure. All right, we'll come to Matthew, the 7th chapter. We'll start at verse 13 and read through 15. It says, enter ye in at the straight gate. And this is, I'm telling you exactly where to enter in at, going into the doctrine. Scriptures, they're going to detail us how to walk exactly, accurately, and diligently. So enter ye in at the straight gate. And you're being admonished right here, warned about this wide gate. It says, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. So the wide gate and the broad way is going to lead you to destruction, and we'll get into that in a second. And there's going to be many that go that way. We're creating division here between the wise and the unwise, the 1/3 and the 2/3. Verse 14, because straight is the gate. This is exact and accurate instruction right here, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life. Again, you walking circumspectly is all about you going on to actually obtain true life, the kingdom of heaven. And few there be that find it. So it's going to be few that find it. And that's the representation of the 1/3 of the Israelite nation, those who are going on to see the salvation and be able to enter into the kingdom. Verse 15 reads, beware of false prophets. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing. All right, and who are these sheep? Matthew chapter 10, the point is in verse 6. It says, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But I'm going to read verse 5 as well. It says, these 12 Yahweh sent forth and commanded them, saying, and the 12 being the 12 disciples, the Lord's students, his sheep, with him being a shepherd, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not. These are accurate and exact instructions, ways for you to walk circumspectly, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So the Israelites, the 1/3, the hopeful elect, that's those sheep. That's the Lord's specific sheep. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 15, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing. So these are those of your very own nation. They look like you. They act like you. They sound like you. They be where you be at. It says, but inwardly, they are ravening wolves, but inwardly, they're off. They don't truly get the doctrine. They're teaching. They're talking about the scriptures, but they don't go into the scriptures. They don't ever get them. They're running aimlessly. Thus, they entered in at the wide gate in the broad way, especially you so-called black people who call yourselves Christian, man. Christians, Baptists, Catholics, what's a broad way? You can be anything. All right, but the straight gate is the one truth. Those are those wolves in sheep's clothing. Those of your nation who will argue with you, about going into the scriptures and have no idea what they're talking about. They'll get into feuds with you, man, and cause strife. We come back into Matthew 10 and we'll go to verse 16. It says, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. So we can see the situation here. You sheep are the Lord's chosen. All right, and these wolves are those who just can't get it. They don't have eyes to see. They don't have ears to hear. But yet they will be against you and everything you say because they have been sold by their father, the devil, the so-called white man, through plantation Christianity and all his other devices that he may have them tied up in. So behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents. Ways how to walk, you see. Be ye therefore wise as serpents, because you have to be wise in this world and harmless as doves. We'll come into Philippians chapter 2, verse 14. It says, do all things without murmurings and disputings, because remember, we're supposed to be sheep-like. Sheep are very meek creatures. YouTube a video of them getting sheared. These people be throwing these sheep around, cutting off their coats. They don't, they don't argue. They don't even make noise. They just take it. And we understand that these scriptures are, the manifold. Yes, we are sheep life, so we're not going to be murmuring, speaking under our breath. We're going to be speaking as men out loud and precisely and accurately and being diligent and knowing. In disputings, we're not going to dispute. We know the truth. The truth is the truth. We're not going to be arguing with Pastor Pork Chop over what we can and what we can't eat. We're going to go to the scriptures and show them directly. And again, I said we're supposed to be sheep-like in the spirit. But in the next second, we could flip and be lions. So don't get me wrong by saying we're supposed to be, getting ran over. No, we sheep-like. We do things with taste. And we have the truth, so there's no need to argue. To be in disputings with these wolves. They don't get it. They're in the wide gate. We understand that. This made me think of Matthew chapter 5 in verse 25. And 25, it says, agree with thine adversary quickly, whilst thou art in the way with him. Again, you see your adversary, that's it. Who is against you? These wolves. Wolves eat sheep. Again, those very men of your own nation. And obviously the scriptures are manifold, and we know our biggest opponent is Esau, the so-called white man. Agree with thine adversary quickly whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. So obviously this can happen with your natural opponent who is a so-called white man, but definitely can happen amongst your own. Back to Matthew chapter 10. In verse 17, it says, but beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. All right, so you can be delivered up, man. Again, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. All right, so a lot of this is going to happen amongst your very own. So how are you walking? Do you know this is a thing that you need to be looking for? This is all part of walking circumspectly, you know, knowing exactly what's out there and accurately going about executing it, diligently looking for it and searching, having complete awareness. So back to Philippians chapter 2. We'll read 14 again and go through. It says, do all things without murmurings and disputings, that ye may be blameless and harmless. Matthew 10 and 16. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves, that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God, without rebuke, because you're walking circumspectly and upright, and you're going about things how you ought to be doing so you can't be rebuked. In the midst, Matthew 10 and 16, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. You're in the midst of this crooked and perverse nation. You're a sheep among all these wolves. These so-called black people don't know what's going on. And they've been sold by their father, the so-called white man, all right, who is the devil. They trying to steer you off of that straight gate, trying to bring you into the wide. But it says, among whom ye, among this crooked and perverse nation, we shine as lights, Lord willing, among whom ye shine as lights in the world. And we shine as lights because we're likened unto a lamp. You go into Matthew, the 25th chapter, you go about the 10 virgins, trimming those wicks. That's walking circumspectly, walking accordingly to the doctrine, learning it and executing it exactly and accurately and being diligent. Once again, verse 16, it says, holding forth the word of life. All right. And that's that oil that goes into those lamps. We have to be on fire so we can always be casting down the imaginations and all these strongholds and being aware of these wolves around us, you know, because we out to regain the lost sheep, bring them back into the fold. But holding forth the word of life, that's the oil, that I may rejoice in the day of Hamashiach, because that's the whole point, is salvation and being able to go into the kingdom. It says that I have not run in vain. You see, your run is synonymous with what? Your walk. Thus walking circumspectly, not running in vain. It says neither labored in vain. All right. So therefore, if you don't want to walk or labor in vain, you got to walk circumspectly, getting this understanding, obtaining it, accepting it, and, diligently sharpening that blade and getting better and improving. All right. And walking more circumspect every day, which will be exactly accurate and diligent. Lord willing, this was edifying. Shalom.